Big price increases in silver as the result of big problems right now in Mexico. But why is Mexico so important? It is critical for us to understand as silver investors why we need to keep an eye on what is going on in Mexico, and it's going on right now. And it absolutely could result in $65 silver, $75 silver, $85 silver, maybe even what our friend Keith Newmeyer loves to talk about, triple-digit $100 silver. But why is Mexico such a big deal to silver investors? You think, oh, Mexico. Did you know that Mexico on an annual basis produces somewhere between 25% and 30% of the world's silver? There's more Mexico. There's more Mexico in Mexico. Let's cut. We'll try that one over. That's Sunday morning. It's early. Hey, we're all together. There's more silver in Mexico than anywhere else on the planet. So when things change in Mexico, and they are changing, that can have a major impact on the silver price. Let me read a couple of super interesting data points about Mexico and silver. According to the United States Geological Society, Mexico is the largest silver producing country in the world. They produce an estimated 6,300 metric tons of silver. That's what they produced in 2022. This yield is significantly higher. This is where it gets interesting. And guys, I've got a piece of news about Mexico that we're going to get to later that is good news for silver investors. But the amount of silver produced by Mexico is higher than who do you think the second largest silver producer in the world is? Take a wild guess. Who's the largest gold producer in the world? China. Who's the second largest silver producer in the world? Yes, you guessed it, China. I kind of gave it away to you. Their mine output was a little over half of what Mexico produced in 2022. Now, I want you to think about China and silver. How much of the silver that China produces in their own country as the second largest producer of silver in the world, how much of that do you think they sell onto the open market? How much of the silver, and think about this, I've noticed this lately. When I first got into silver stacking, remember the silver Chinese panda coins? They were kind of readily available at my local coin shop, and you could get them. You'd see them for sale on the, JM Bullion, the big online retailers. You don't really see Chinese silver panda coins readily available anymore. I strongly believe that China, and I don't know this, so I can't say this, but maybe one of you can do the research, but I don't think China exports any of its silver. We know China doesn't export any of its gold. But why is that a big deal with silver? Because that's, again, less silver going on to the market, right? And so we know if the second largest producer is hoarding all their silver and the largest producer, Mexico, has some issues, and we're going to cover all these issues, the supply of silver, already constrained, could be under even greater stress. Most of Mexico's silver production comes from silver mines and byproduct extraction from lead and zinc mines. Okay, a lot of silver is mined as a byproduct. The country's largest silver mine, remember this, because this is critical, Penasquito mine, which yielded 32 million ounces of silver in 2022. Remember that mine name, Penasquito, because we're going to talk about something critical regarding that mine as well. That's the largest silver mine in Mexico. Another noteworthy mine is the Fresnillo mine. Now, this is just interesting as a side fact. The world's largest primary silver mine, which has been producing silver for over 5 centuries, after it was founded in the year 1554. Is that mind-blowing or what? This one mine in Mexico has been producing silver since 1554. But let's back up to the Penasquito mine, because this is where it gets interesting. Remember, guys, Mexico provides 25 to 30% of the world's silver, okay? We already know overall the supply of silver is decreasing. Mexico, 25 to 30% of it. All right, now, what's interesting is this Penasquito mine, which is run by Newmont, and this is where we're going to start talking about the factors about Mexico that are very good for silver. Penasquito mine, run by Newmont. There's been a strike there for like the last 2 months. The mine has been shut down. It drove Newmont, which is one of the biggest mining companies in the world, to publicly say that they were going to reevaluate their mining investments in Mexico. Guys, and this is not the good news, the big kicker for silver that I'm going to get to, right? I'm going to save it till the end because it's good news. You're going to want to hang around for this. But Mexico is becoming increasingly difficult for countries to mine in, okay? Now, if you want to get your hand on some silver right now, run over to Pimbex, Pimbex. They're an online bullion dealer that I trust, that I've worked with, silver, gold, or platinum, Pimbex.com. Check them out. I think Pimbex is best, and you will too. Now, back to silver in Mexico. Mexico's a mess, okay? All the silver that gets, the second biggest supplier, China, they hoard there. So Mexico's this primary supplier of silver. There have been so many troubles for mining companies in Mexico, in particular over the last 3 or 4 years. It's happening because of 2 things. Number 1, social issues, strikes. And number 2, the government, AMLO, I believe his name is, the guy who's running Mexico right now, is so anti-mining. I'm going to give you some examples of companies that have had trouble in Mexico. America's Gold and Silver, they had a mine that was shut down, a silver mine, for like almost 2 years because of strikes in Mexico. Silver mine. Equinox Gold, Ross Beatty's massive company. Ask them how their experience has been in Mexico. They've had big social issues at their gold mine, but nonetheless, major issues. And this is just a few of the big companies that are having problems. Ask Keith Neumeyer with First Majestic how he feels about the current climate in Mexico. They have a royalty dispute. There's all kinds of issues right now in Mexico when it comes to mining. They've passed new laws to make it much more difficult. I mean, exceedingly more difficult for companies to explore for silver, to develop silver mines, to get permits for silver mines. They're controlling how the mines are built. On top of it all, Fortuna Silver, a company that I follow super closely, they've had the most bizarre experience with the environmental people in Mexico over the last 2 years, where they're trying to inhibit their ability to mine silver. The people in the community where Fortuna operates love the mine, love the jobs, but the government is, just bizarro things that they're doing regarding like environmental permits for Fortuna. The bottom line is, silver mining companies, this, I guarantee you, any silver mining executive that does anything in Mexico will tell you how difficult it's been. But remember, what does that mean for the silver price? Well, it means if it's harder to explore, build, or mine silver in Mexico, and Mexico is the biggest producer of silver in the world, and the second biggest producer, China, doesn't sell any of their silver really outside of the country, that means the supply of silver could be under serious stress, okay? Let's take a look at this. Here. We know the demand for silver is going higher and higher and higher. As the supply gets constricted, it's going to cause big issues for the silver industry. And let me read this to you, because this is what you've all been waiting for. Let me read this to you. Bear with me. This speaks. This is really almost unbelievable that this is going on right now. This came from Tavi Costa. Tavi is a hedge fund manager, one of the most respected analysts in the precious metal sector. You probably know who he is, Tavi Costa. He's from Brazil. He's widely followed. He's super respected. He knows more about what's going on in the precious metal sector than almost anybody. And here's something he put on X. Sit down for this one. It says, Mexico just reported its steepest decline in annual production of silver in 4 years. Steepest decline in annual production, which is notably worse. This was even worse than during the COVID lockdowns. He says, let us not forget that Mexico is by far the largest producer of metal in the world today. The supply of silver remains remarkably constrained. The supply is constrained. And if this is indeed the beginning of another gold cycle, the metal could be worth multiples of its current price. Let me show you this little chart that he has here. See if I can make it bigger. Bear with me. Okay, I'm going to show you this, and you can see, I'm going to leave that up for a few seconds. That's silver production in Mexico. Okay, and you can see it's going down, down, down. The trend is down, and it's even lower than what we had during the COVID situation where a lot of mines were shut down. Now, that big mine, the Penasquito mine that Newmont has been shut down. There's a major strike there. So that is contributing to this. But the overall trend from Mexico, right, the world's largest silver producer, is to make it exceedingly difficult from a government regulatory perspective to mine for silver in the country. And from a social perspective, it seems like every week we're hearing about a new strike. What does that mean for the future when we look at the supply of silver? To me, it means only one thing: a constraint on the supply of silver when at the same time we know the demand. I read this morning, and again, it was on X, but people were talking, they were debating, right, how much of an increase we're going to see in demand for silver for solar alone. Some people were saying 300%. This is by the year 2030. I apologize. So in the next 7 years, what will the increase in demand for silver be just for the solar industry alone? This doesn't include electronics, electric vehicles, medical, all defense industry, all the other sources of demand. They were debating about the lowest that anybody brought up was 250, 300%. Some people are even saying that we're going to see 700% increase in demand for silver from solar alone by the year 2030. Where's it going to come from? Where's all the silver going to come from? Because I need to remind you of one thing. Last year, there was a deficit in silver from the Silver Institute themselves. Their numbers indicated that there were 1.2 billion ounces of silver demanded by the world. So the world needed 1.2 billion ounces of silver. Total mine output was like 850 million, right? And there was a little bit that was added, or 900 million, whatever, and a little bit that was added for recycling, but recycling's not cost effective at this level. Right? You need to have $50 silver for recycling of silver to really make any sense whatsoever. So as we look at this, there's a deficit. There's more being demanded every year than's being supplied, and we know the supply from China is not going to get any better, but even more important, from Mexico, the world's largest silver producer, we've got government issues. We got social issues. We have a shrinking supply of silver coming from the world's biggest silver supplier. I don't know. I mean, what happens? Help me out here. What happens when there's much more robust demand for anything than there is supply, and there's a shrinking supply. Doesn't it seem like shouldn't it seem like that it's just a matter of time until we get higher silver prices, the real silver price? Yeah. And are we seeing that right now? We're going to talk about this every day, because this is probably one of the other biggest stories in the world of silver, besides the fact that you have decided to join me here today. It's a big deal. Over 350 people on a Sunday morning. Wow. Thank you. Hey, one favor. See that? That's my ugly thumb. Please give this a thumbs up, and I'm going to give you 10 rings of the bell because we got to 100 thumbs up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. Now, that darn bell made me lose my train of thought. Oh, yeah. The other big story with silver right now, lighting the internet on fire, lighting X, also known as Twitter, on fire right now. We know the story with Mexico. We just covered that. But what is going on in China, the second largest supplier of silver? Let me give you the most updated information that we have right now from the Oriental Ghost. This is the guy, he's the guru of following the silver price in China. We've had a big price differentiation between the Western COMEX and the LBMA, right? The paper markets that traditionally set the price of silver, and the Shanghai Futures Exchange. Here's the latest I could find from the Oriental Ghost, and this looks like Friday. The price of silver on the Shanghai Futures Exchange closed at $25.40. Still probably 11-12% higher to buy silver in China than it is to buy paper silver, to buy electronic. Here's your silver that you can get on the COMEX. Go ahead, grab some. Reach out in front of yourself. Grab some COMEX silver. It's right over there with the Bitcoins, right? It's electronic. It doesn't exist. Right? Grab it. Grab that COMEX silver. Oh, I just got some. Woo, that's great. Put it with your Ethereum and your Bitcoin, right? In China, their markets are more based upon actual physical metal. Go figure. Thank you, Daryl, for the super chat, my friend. What a nice thing for you to do on a Sunday morning. I appreciate that. We are raising a family on this channel, so thank you. Nonetheless, this price differentiation is being hotly debated. Why are gold and silver? Gold is also much more expensive in Shanghai. Not as expensive as silver, but nonetheless, it's still more expensive, and people are scratching their heads. The only thing that most people are coming to the conclusion of is that maybe, just maybe, that's the real price of silver. Because don't forget what I said, the Shanghai Gold Exchange, the Shanghai Futures Exchange, that is based on real physical metal. Now, I'm not saying it's 100%, but it's much, from what I've learned in this, this is an evolving story. It's much more based on physical metal. So that could tell us. Now, hold on one second. I'm going to have a sip of coffee. Don't go anywhere. Don't you go anywhere. Because we got a lot more to talk about. Thank you, Jim McDaniels. Thank you, Ron, Susie, and the moderators. Yes, the moderators make this happen. We've got Annie Oakley. We've got CoinShop Chris. We've got Neil from Neil Hahn's Dynasty. We have Mary Radcliffe. And we have Jake from Jake's Custom Parts. These guys help make these live streams special, and they help make the community. So please type 4 in a demonstration of thanks. And if I forgot any moderator, just throw a ding dong and hit me in the head, okay? I'm not perfect. We're going to talk about copper. Copper's kind of like the forgotten cousin of silver, gold, and platinum in a little bit. But first, this is one more unbelievable fact about silver that we need to cover. So bear with me. Let me get back to the whiteboard here. Bear with me. Silver, 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 silver. Where was it? Uh-oh. Oh, there it is. Okay. So we talk about supply constraints in silver. Look, I talked to the CEOs of the silver mining companies. I'm going to be talking to Jorge Ganoza, the CEO of Fortuna Silver, this week. I've talked with Keith Neumeyer in the past once, but I can say I talked with him. Okay. I talked with a lot of the other mining CEOs as well, senior managers. They all say the same thing about two things about silver. Number one, it's exceedingly difficult to find good quality new silver deposits in the ground. And number two, nobody's doing it because you know why? There's no money in it at this price. At $22, $23, $20 silver, it's not worth it to look. Guys, that is going to constrain the amount of silver. But there's one fact alone that drives home the fact that silver is becoming increasingly rare. Let me read this to you. This comes from Visual Capitalist. If you've never looked at Visual Capitalist, what they do is they present like economic or financial data to you in a visual form. Again, it's called Visual Capitalist. And they map out the 10 largest undeveloped silver deposits in the world. Okay. They talk about silver is going to be needed in all the green technology. I won't read you that. We already know that. You basement dwellers, you know the story behind silver in the green economy. Electronics, solar. Like I said, some people are saying demand for solar alone could go up by 700%. This says here in 2022, 27%. This is not the incredible fact. I got an incredible fact for you I'm going to share, but this is a good fact. 27% of all silver consumption in the United States was attributed to electrical and electronics. 27%. While, and this is interesting, only 10% was linked to solar technology. So 27% of the silver is already being consumed by electrical and electronics, only 10% solar, but people are saying that could grow by almost 500, 600, 400, whatever. It's going to go up significantly as we move into just the next 7 years alone. That's not the Incredible Hulk fact. Remember the Incredible Hulk when you were kids? About silver. Global silver demand is rising, okay? There was a 237.7 million ounce deficit, like we talked about in 2022. By the way, I forgot, I failed you. I forgot to tell you, that was an all-time record last year, the deficit in silver, all-time record. 2023 industrial demand for silver is forecast to rise by 4%. Here's the crazy fact, okay? Currently, sit down for this one. Currently, the world's top 10 undeveloped silver deposits contain, how much silver do you think how much silver, I almost said are. How much silver do you think are contained? How much silver, I'm going to speak like the Goldman Sachs, how much silver do you think is contained in the top 10 undeveloped silver deposits in the world? And this is crazy when you think about this. If you answered 984 million ounces, write that number down or remember it. There's 984 million ounces of silver in the top 10 undeveloped silver deposits in the world. Why is that crazy? You're asking me, Ron, are you crazy, Ron? What's the big deal about 980? That's a lot of silver. Yeah, that is. But I want you to take a step back and consider this fact, okay? The top 10 undeveloped silver projects, 984 million ounces, that is significantly less than what in 1 year, 2022, the world demanded. We have less than 1 year supply of silver in the world's top 10 undeveloped silver projects. What does that tell you? And again, I can tell you from speaking to these CEOs, I mean, I would think that the top silver projects, undeveloped silver, that's the pipeline of new silver supply coming in, would have like 5 or 10 or 30 or 50 years worth of silver. No, the top 10 silver development projects, they have like 9 months worth of silver. Does that blow your mind? You know, and what we also know, all these silver companies, Fortuna, Hecla, all the big guys, right? They'll tell you the silver is getting so much harder to mine. Okay, it's becoming so much more exceedingly difficult to get that metal out of the ground. What does that tell us from a big picture perspective when we take a step back? Right? People will say, why would you buy silver? Why would you want to buy, silver? Remember, the world's largest silver producing country is basically saying, hey, silver industry, buzz off. We don't want you here anymore. We don't want silver mining. I mean, that's what the silver CEOs will tell you. That's the feeling. Mexico has become an undesirable jurisdiction in which to mine. But the problem is they're the biggest silver producing country in the world. And we can't go to the second biggest. That would be China, because China's not going to give away any of their silver. They're going to keep it all in the Shanghai Gold Exchange and the Shanghai Futures Exchange. Think about this, guys. And then at the same time as we have the shrinking, and countries aren't cooperating anymore, we've got a silver demand picture that is going through the roof. Solar, electronics, military, you name it. Anywhere we look, we're seeing silver is absolutely crazy. But what about copper? Now, let's learn a little bit about copper. You probably definitely know this, but copper is the predominant mineral that's used in electrical. It's the big demand story for copper is the electrification of the planet. Okay, how does copper relate to silver? Well, a lot of silver is still found with copper mining. It's a byproduct. Okay, but the new copper resources in the world are deeper. They're different. The low-hanging copper fruit has been harvested. So now the new copper deposits that are going to have to be mined to meet all this crazy, insane demand for silver and copper, the new copper deposits, they don't have as much silver in coexistence with the copper. All right. But let me just read something from Citibank. Let's hear from Citibank about copper. Because copper is like copper and platinum. Everybody always talks about silver and gold, but platinum and copper are like first cousins. Okay, they matter for the overall picture. Bear with me here. Here it is. Here it is. They're always trying to sell me something. Okay, Citibank says a copper boom will make historic 2008 oil price surge look like child's play. Excuse me, look like child's play. Let me read this. According to Citigroup, by the year 2025, the copper boom will make the 2008 oil price hike look like child's play. Max Layton, managing director of commodity research at Citi, compared the upcoming copper surge to the 2008 oil rally when oil prices went from $50 a barrel to over $140 a barrel. He said, copper is now considered, quote unquote, the new oil. We need to stay on top of this, guys, because copper and silver and gold and platinum, they're all related. Due to its role in electric vehicle batteries and green energy technologies like solar panels. Does that sound familiar? And wind turbines, and in turn could see a similar upside in the next 3 years. Okay, although copper prices are expected to decline this year due to China's economic struggles and slower global growth, Citi sees this as an opportunity. Copper is going through the roof. Copper demand is going through the roof. Silver demand is going through the roof. Now, we already covered the silver story from that supply perspective. What about the pricing mechanism for silver? That's the big key. That's what's been holding silver back now for decades. The COMEX and the LBMA have been suppressing the price of silver and gold for decades. We know, think about this. Our government was able to prosecute and convict 2 J.P. Morgan traders for price manipulation in the precious metals, doing it by spoofing. What do you think? If our government was able to get two guys, and with the best attorneys, those J.P. Morgan guys had the best attorneys money could buy, right? And our government was able to get 2. That's the tip of the iceberg. That's what I'm being told. That's just the tip of the iceberg in terms of the manipulation and suppression of the metals prices that we've endured for years. So we hear this talk about a new pricing mechanism for silver, for gold, for platinum, for copper, for all of it. How would that happen? And what would it mean for the price of the metals? We're going to talk about that right now. Because that's the only way that we're going to see value realization. You want the value of your metals to go up, right? Unless you're wanting to buy more. But a lot of us have already accumulated what we think is a significant amount. Oh, we got 200 thumbs up. Hey guys, when we get to 200 thumbs up, we have a tradition, us basement dwellers. We ring the 200 bell. And we got 450 people. Awesome. On a Sunday morning. And we're going to talk about the new price for silver, the new price for gold, the new price for platinum, copper, palladium, all of them. How is it going to happen? How is it going to happen? Right? Traditionally, the COMEX and the LBMA have dominated setting the price of the metals with huge leverage, right? You hear all kinds of incredible numbers that, the COMEX has for each 1 ounce of silver that it has. Some people say 400 contracts, 40, whatever it is. It's insane, right? They leverage it up. All that price that's determined is only based on paper. There's not enough silver in the vaults to cover all the contracts that are outstanding. That's just a simple fact. But what is going to break that? We've talked to the experts. You probably have watched some of the previous interviews that I've done. What eventually breaks it is when physical demand overwhelms the paper market. Now, what could make that happen? I think there's two things, okay? 2 things. Number 1 could be crisis. Like we had, remember, just as an example, let's just look back 6 months ago. Does it feel like it's been a calm, like a fake calm 6 months in the West, right? Like not a lot has happened, but 6 months ago, before this calm, we had a little banking crisis here in the United States. 3 of the 4 largest banks in the history of the country went belly up. Suddenly everything's okay now. Somehow the Fed made up some new program and fixed everything. But nonetheless, when that little crisis erupted, demand for the precious metals went crazy. There's even a CNN, Children's News Network article about people buying gold and how it's still, right? The surge abated, but there's still people buying actual physical gold. People are worried. Okay, so one of the ways that the physical market could absolutely overwhelm the paper market is in a state of crisis, a financial crisis, some other type crisis that could erupt in the United States. A lot of you we all have varying degrees of what we think is going to happen. But when we look at the big picture in this country, financially, the way our country is being run, monetarily, from the Fed, how it's being run, when we look at politically, what's going on in this country, when we look socially, what's going on in this country, when we look at the consumer, who's the backbone of the U.S. economy, how they are in horrific shape, we can see that a crisis, because everything is so delicate, so fragile is not out of the question. That could do it. That's option number one. I promised you two options, but I want you to promise me one thing before I give you that second option. I want you to please subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so. That's all I ask. And give this a thumbs up. It'll be my last beg. Thumbs up. My big chubby thumb. It looks like that. If you press it, that helps get the word out to more people. Okay, now what's the second factor that we need to think about regarding price discovery and the metals? It could be this massive bifurcation that we're having right now in the world. Guys, the BRICS Plus. Don't forget, we have Saudi Arabia, Iran, United Arab Emirates, Australia, Argentina. Oh boy, Egypt and Ethiopia joining them. And those countries are developing their own markets for silver and gold and platinum and oil and everything else. It's happening. The Shanghai Cooperation Organization, the ASEAN, read about that. They are developing. And what about, like we talked earlier, the Shanghai Futures Exchange, the Shanghai Gold Exchange? Now, one thing we have to recognize, we're talking about this different price. Based upon research that I've done, the COMEX still is significantly bigger than the Shanghai Gold Exchange, but they are growing and growing. And we're seeing more countries, even I'm hearing that in Hong Kong, a lot of the dealers in Hong Kong, instead of using the COMEX price to base their metal sales on, they've switched now to the Shanghai Gold Exchange price. Again, because it's a more physical market. But that shift, that's the other option. We could have domestic Western issues that could blow out the price for silver and gold, but we already know that the world through this bifurcation is moving in that direction as well, right? And at some point, when you look at the combined strength, right, maybe China on their own isn't as big as the United States, but when you combine China with India, with Russia, with Brazil, with Saudi Arabia, and they say, hey guys, we think there's a different price. We got news for you. Sorry. We think, knock, knock. Are you there? Sorry, COMEX, but we think there's a different price for gold, a different price for silver. Oh, and oil. The biggest commodity in the world, which will affect everything. It's easy to see when you look at what's going on in Mexico. And people are talking about Mexico possibly joining the BRICS, possibly. And there's a whole host of other countries as well. But nonetheless, when you look at what's going on in Mexico with silver, and we love silver, right? We love all the metals. We love to talk about the economy. I love the fact that you're here with me in the basement, but we love silver in particular. And when you look at what's going on in that market alone, it's astounding. Now, I want to talk about gold really quickly. Look, these videos aren't possible without sponsors. We talked about Pembex. What about this company? First Mining Gold. If you want to protect yourself with an investment of gold in the ground, they're a Canadian gold mining company with two 5 million ounce projects in Canada. Now think about this. We talked about how Mexico is becoming an increasingly difficult jurisdiction in which to do mining. Canada is becoming more friendly toward mining, in particular Quebec. And First Mining Gold has one of their 5 million ounce projects in Quebec. That's the Duparquet project, and another one in Ontario, the Springpole project. But they have 4 other project interests in Canada as well, including one in Newfoundland, Frank, Mary, George, Frank, FFMGF. I came at a hard time saying that. That's the stock symbol. Go to firstmininggold.com. Learn a little bit if you want. If you're interested, learn more about the company. You can also reach out to their Director of Investor Relations, Paul Morris. He's a great guy. Would be happy to answer any of your questions. His email address is in the description of this video. So, yeah, let's just talk about that for a second. When it comes to mining jurisdictions, Canada is becoming much more friendly, while at the same time, Mexico is becoming much more difficult of a place. And that is going to kill silver. Guys, it's not going to kill the silver price. It's going to be like, when you're building a fire and you put a couple new logs on, dry logs, it's going to be good for the price. But they are killing the silver industry right now in Mexico. It's like just strangling on so many crazy ways. And I can't, I'm going to say it for the third time. I'm repeater Ron, like Susie says, but when the number one producer of silver is applying heat to the silver miners and they're producing less silver, and number two doesn't let any silver leave their country, that's China, and they're setting a new price for silver. I don't know, I think it's a good warm fuzzy for us silver lovers to remember this fact. And this is just my opinion. And then when it comes to talking about companies and stocks and whether you should buy silver or gold, I'm not giving financial advice, okay? But when I think about that gold in the ground in Canada, or I think about the silver that I may get from my friends at Pembex, here's a South African Krugerrand, one of my favorites. I love them, okay? Absolutely love them. Let me explain to you what I like about this. I'm like the coin guy on TV. No, I'm not trying to sell you this coin. And no, I don't make a commission if you buy anything from Pembex. I've worked with them in the past. I trust them. Okay. But let me tell you about this beautiful coin. I'm those coin shows on TV. Have I got a deal for you? This is what I like about this coin. I like the fact that if I buy it for $26, I feel confident, very, very confident that it is going to at least maintain its value, okay? Period. But there's an opportunity. I'm not saying it's for sure, and it may be a short window, right? We got to be mentally prepared and monetarily prepared, basement dwellers. Listen up, basement dwellers. This will be quick. But there's an opportunity that this could go up in real value. When I say real value, I mean, let's say right now we go to the grocery store and we can get 10 loaves of bread, roughly, $2 each, roughly, for this 1 ounce of silver. That we could see an opportunity present itself when things get hairy. And because the thing is, with silver, guys, you got to remember, if things get really bad, people rush to metals. Most people are going to rush to silver. What happened during the little banking crisis? I think I forgot to finish that story. When you went to your local coin shop back in early April, they didn't have any silver, right? They didn't. It was all gone, and you had to wait 2 or 3 weeks or 4 weeks. If you went online and ordered from one of the giant online bullion dealers, right? They raised their minimum amount that you had to spend. And they said there were 2, 3, 4 week delays. All right. So what's going to happen when things get hairy? You aren't going to be able to get this. And maybe instead of getting just 10 loaves of bread, it'll maintain its value. But you could see an opportunity where maybe you could get 50 loaves of bread or 100 loaves of bread. And that's why you hear, I always like to go back to this, and I absolutely love him. And I'm forgetting his name. Darn it. The guy that says 100, you can get a house for 100 ounces of silver. I want to say Tavi Costa, but that's not it. Darn it. Somebody help me out. Put it in the thing. I can't believe I'm having a senior moment right here. I'm degrading, like I told you would happen over time, right? This is going to be the world's largest live stream. I'll be on here until I pass away. Rafi, thank you, Sassy Silver. Thank you, Sassy Silver. Man, you helped me out in so many ways. I appreciate it. That's the little window, right? Okay. We could see like a spike, like a bubble, believe it or not. We're in an anti-bubble right now when it comes to silver and gold, but we could see a little bubble that blows up in the silver price where, yeah, instead of getting 10 loaves of bread for this, which I would never do, but nonetheless, you might get 100 loaves of bread. You might get 500 loaves of bread. You might be feeding your whole neighborhood. We're going to have turkey sandwiches. That's the exciting prospect with metals. But again, what I fall back on is the fact that I am confident that 1 ounce of silver is going to maintain its value. Think about this. Let's have story time. Okay? Sit back, have a sip of coffee, and we're going to have story time. Thank you, Sean. Ding dongs. I'm going to have to rent a semi-truck to send these ding-dongs down to our friend Coin Shop Chris. For those of you who do not know, Coin Shop Chris, who is a critical part of this channel, is addicted to ding-dongs. He eats over 5 a day, is what the word on the street is. So we got to keep ding-dongs coming for him. Hold on one second, then we have story time. I don't think we can hear this story enough. Look, you're a human, I'm a human, we're all together here in the basement, yes, but nonetheless, you're a human watching this right now. One thing you can say for sure, absolutely for sure about you as a human is this. You had a great grandpa. Okay, so did I. Maybe we had the same one. It's hard to keep track, right? So maybe we're related, but nonetheless, you had a great to the 4th degree grandpa. He was alive in the year 1830. Okay? 1820, whatever. I think my math is correct. Doesn't matter where in the world he was. Doesn't matter if he was in England, Toronto, Texas, Buenos Aires, doesn't matter. You had a great grandpa, no matter where in the world. If that great grandpa of yours had a 1 ounce silver bar, 1 ounce silver coin, 1 ounce silver nugget, 1 ounce silver round, whatever it was, and stuck it in his pocket, okay? All right? Stuck it in his pocket and forgot about it and hung his pants up at the house and died in 1825, right? And then the house got passed down from generation to generation. Finally, you're going to sell the house. Today, you go to clean out that house and you find those pants he was wearing and you find that 1 ounce silver coin, bar, round, whatever it is. It's just as valuable today, no matter where in the world he was, no matter where in the world you are right now. It's just as valuable today as it was in 1820. And we could use that same example with your great-grandpa to the 50th degree, who may have lived in the year 2020, or I'm sorry, 220, not 2020, 220, 2000, 1800 years ago. That's the benefit to silver. And the same can be said about gold, and I imagine platinum as well, but I don't think platinum was really discovered until later on. Anyway, that's why we hold the metals. Now remember, silver, that silver in your grandpa's pocket is being consumed every year, right? Used in electronics, used in all kinds of products, and used in defense, somebody said there's like a whole monster box. There's 500 ounces of silver. Did you know this? In one Tomahawk missile, I think it was, one of these big cruise missiles. You know, I mean, have you thought about that? Do you think that silver's ever going to be recovered? I don't think so. I'm not in favor of war or war. Susie doesn't like how I say war. Is it war or war? War. Nonetheless, those Tomahawk missiles have 500 ounces of silver in them. Silver is being consumed. Oh, and like we talked about 8 times already today, there's less silver being supplied to the market than is being demanded. Think about that, right? And you're going to tell me that the price of silver right now is fair? I don't think so. All right, guys, we need to accomplish something. Please, this will be good for us. All of us will all feel good. Can we get... I said I wouldn't do it again. I lied to you. That's the first lie on this live stream. That's why it's not a live stream. It's a lie stream. Can we get to 300 thumbs up? I'll do it one last time. I promise. Until I lose a sponsor over it, I will hit the bell with my nose. Okay? All right? And if I lose a sponsor over it, well, I'll have to consider. I still may do it with my nose. It's been a part of the show from day one. We need to get to 300 thumbs up. Come on, man. Let's get that done. Let's get her done here on a Sunday morning. Right? So, no matter what you say about silver, I don't care. I believe in my heart that it's going to maintain. I know it's going to maintain its value. And I know 150%, and we're almost to 300 thumbs up, that we could have major price increases in the silver. Let's get it! We got it! All right! Okay, you want me to do it in slow motion for you today? Some people really don't like this. If you're one of the people that doesn't like this, I understand. I know, it's a little different. I had to go to the doctor because I injured my nose doing this about 6 weeks ago, but I have a new method and it works quite well. Whew! That's 3 rings of the bell with my big fat nose for 304 thumbs up. You guys are awesome. Have a great Sunday. I will not be back on later today. I'm taking the girls to the Fright Fest Halloween scare thing, so hopefully I live through that, but I'll see you tomorrow. Take it easy. Thank you. Thank you, all the moderators. Wait a minute. Man, I almost forgot. The most important part of the show. Man, thank you for the super chats. That's awesome. Thank you, Sean. As always, you're super generous with me. I never expect super chats, but really we appreciate the support. The part, we didn't even talk about that today, but it's so crazy trying to live in this day and age, money-wise. And my daughters, they were much more or less expensive when they were 5 than they are when they're 11. It's like every day they need money for something, and I'm not begging for money. I'm just saying it's crazy. And then they eat more as they get bigger. That's good though. That's all right. We make it. Neil. Hey, Neil. Great to see you. Thank you, Neil. Thank you, Coin Shop Chris. Thank you. I think Annie was on here. Thank you, Sassy Silver. Thank you, Big J, for being here. Thank you, Pablo Pina. Thank you, Sean R. Thank you, Patriot Paul. Thank you. Silver is my B. Back up the truck. That's a great username. Guys, we're going to be in this together. Okay. Thanks for being part of the basement. Thanks for coming down here and spending some time with me. And I'll see you soon. Thank you.